Hey, if I could have everyone's attention, please, as we're getting organized for this Income Tax Subcommittee meeting and Ways and Means Committee, could I have your attention, please? There is a sign-up sheet if anyone wants to sign up to speak to either one of the measures before us today. It's on the third desk down right there on the edge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Wait a minute. Just give us 1 second.
I don't think it's.
Is it on?
Hello? All right, there we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have extremely capable folks subbing today, but we happen to have some illness that has hit Alex and has hit Christy over in Ledge Council, and also David. We say a quick prayer for him because he's dealing with a family matter. So if we seem a little bit uncertain or disorganized, that may be because we are, and we'll do our best to recover and move forward. But if you'll just have indulge us a little bit considering all of that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Blackman. Which microphone was this one right here? Okay. So, Chairman Jaspers, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here to present House Bill 403. I believe you have the appropriate bill in your folder. Thank you for letting me talk the other day. Being for the first time in front of Ways and Means kind of made us sit and take a revisit how we were presenting our bill. Hope you'll see we improved a whole lot today and make our case a lot better. But we do have the opportunity with this bill to save Georgians money. That's by creating a tax credit for the installation of geothermal technology to heat and cool homes. And I think you'll see in the handouts that my associate Tucker Green has that's in your folder, the savings that are there, and it'll be really good to look at with him in just a few minutes. Geothermal is what it is. It's exactly what it says. It uses the Earth's consistent temperature to operate a system that utilizes that temperature in the heat exchanger technology. Most all of us use heat exchangers now with the heat pumps. They use air to harvest heat in the wintertime and cool in the summer, but they have limits. And when it gets extreme cold or extreme heat, they don't work, and they have to use additional electricity. And they buy that at peak from Georgia Power and EMCs, and that is what's hurting us. This opportunity will allow us to have families save significantly on their energy bills, all the while leveling out their annual power utility demand in our state. Geothermal heat pumps can save up to 70% on heating, cooling, and believe it or not, also hot water. What the bill does is allow for a 25% state income tax credit on the installation expenses for a residential geothermal system. The credit shall be applied over a 5-year period and not exceed $5,000 for any taxable year. Also, the bill does contain a 5-year sunset. I feel this one is very good for Georgia. It helps working families and homeowners lower their energy costs and puts more money back in their pockets. It grows jobs in our state and positively impacts the HVAC, water well, and the loop contracting business. Because geothermal does require the work of 2 to 3 times more people. And I believe, Mr. Chairman, that it's time for Georgians to join this and do the same. I also have Mr. Tucker Green with me that can go over the handout on the financial side of it, if I can.
Would you like to bring Mr. Green up?
Yes, sir, please.
Mr. Green, again, just introduce yourself and tell us all who you're with.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, I'm Tucker Green, and I represent the Conditioned Air Association of Georgia, as well as the Georgia Association of Groundwater Professionals, and appreciate the opportunity to bring this really neat technology before you, and that's what it is. Geothermal is great technology, and it's great investments for Georgia families. It's the most energy efficient way you can heat or cool your home. The life expectancy on geothermal systems is 2 to 3 times the life expectancy of a traditional AC unit. So it is a very much worthwhile investment. There's some breakdowns in your folders, I believe, and what you can see from there is, on average, with a geothermal system, you can save between about $82 and $106 a month for a Georgia family on their energy bill. That also translates to about 600 to 700 kilowatt hours a year they reduce when they're on a geothermal system, which is good overall, we believe, for our electrical grid. Why we're here, and that is because while this is great technology, there's a lot of investment that goes into these installations, and there's a reason for that. It takes about 2 to 3 times the amount of labor and workforce involved installing a geothermal system over a traditional AC system. So it's a significant investment up front. A lot of different groups have tried to find ways to incentivize these systems, and that is our goal overall. We want to be able to make it to where more lower and middle income families who really need the savings on their energy bills with rising inflations and things of that nature, we want them to be able to utilize this technology to save on their energy bill and help out their families. So happy to provide any feedback or answer any questions you have. We tried to break down the energy savings data we have, as well as cost comparisons of the different geothermal systems. So.
I'll recognize Chairman Martin, who has a question.
Actually, my question, Mr. Chairman, is for our attorney. If I can just ask him when Mr. Higby can. I just want to make sure we're not cutting them off, and I apologize for not remembering exactly what this. But on 42 and 43, we repeal this code section. We don't just sunset the application.
Speaking of the microphone, please. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I thought I was. Mr. Higby, on 42 and 43, we repeal this code section. I just want to make sure that by doing so, if somebody did this in October 2029, and they have the credit to go forward for 5 years, that they'd still be able to use it. That's just sort of the technical language. I know we're not, without extending this sunset, you wouldn't be able to get it in 2030. I just want to make sure the folks that get it in 2029, since the code section is repealed, it doesn't recognize, I don't know what that action of law means, to make sure it does, that the credit's still recognized. Mr. Chairman, if we're not sure about that today, if the will of the committee is to move forward, if we find out we need to.
Y'all had a chance to review the question. Did you hear the question? Sir?
That's just the 403. Mr. Chairman, if it's something, if this is the only thing we've got, I'd be happy to get with the attorney after the meeting and make sure we have it right for the folks if we move it forward.
You ask a good question. So a taxpayer that if this measure were to pass and become law, and a taxpayer in the final year of before sunset,
or 4 subsequent years,
will the earned credit be carried forward over the life like it would in year 1? It's a good question, and we'll let the Ledge Council attempt to answer it. Recognize Chairman Camp has got a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Isn't that question answered starting on line 39, where it says, except for as provided in some section of this code section, no amount of the tax credit shall be allowed to be carried forward to apply to the taxpayer's succeeding year's tax liability? Am I misreading that?
December 29th, the entire code section is repealed, therefore it doesn't exist anymore, so that language wouldn't exist in 2030. My question is, what one does? with a credit earned in 2029 if you have $20,000 of it left over. That means you can't carry it past 5 years. If you got a $25,000 credit and you only had $20,000 worth of tax the first 5 years, you just lose $5,000. I understand what that does, but just by operation of law, if the code section is repealed, I just don't know what happens to existing credits. We just don't want to get people without credit.
I think you had another question or two.
Well, Chairman Blackman's going to clarify the question
sir.
to Legislative Council where we did get an answer on that good question, Chairman Martin. Next, I recognize Chairman Dickey for a question.
Thank you. And along the lines of Chairman Martin, I mean, we have led council here with us here, and I was just wondering why they're not able to offer a amendment here in committee to fix this problem. So I hope we'll have time with them to get some advice here.
Sure. To Chairman Dickey's point, let's make sure we have a problem before we fix it. But that's a good suggestion. In the meantime, do we have any more questions in general for the author of the bill or Mr. Green, who's prepared the exhibit showing the utility tax savings should one of these systems go in? Any other questions from members? Well, all right. Okay. Recognize Chairman Carson for a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Green, for bringing this. I was just going to ask a question. From the homeowner standpoint, what is the payback, the on average payback time via the decreased utility cost versus the investment? What is the average payback time with this tax credit and without this tax credit?
So, great question. Our projection from our manufacturers is a return on investment in about 5 years, I would say, with the credit. Without the credit, you may be looking at more along the lines of 8 to 10 years. Hope that answers your question.
Chairman Wiedeyer, did you have a question?
Not a question, just appreciate the bill. I know Chairman Martin's working on some language to satisfy the thing, but proper time, I'll make a motion with an accepted amendment to satisfy that.
Thank you. Give us 1 minute then. All right.
Mr. Chairman, the Legislative Council advises that they believe that the credit would survive the repeal of the code section, but I think the quote is, it could be made clearer, so we have an opportunity to do that down the road. I don't want to slow the gentleman's proposition down, and we know we can get, so if it wants to move.
All right, so we do have the Department of Revenue here that maybe they could clarify what mic are you at? Is that 74?
Just press the buttons, press the red, yeah.
Austin, can you weigh in on that?
Yeah, just press the button.
Yeah,
right.
you're good.
See if it works.
Okay, this is my first time using this. Chester and I believe in looking at the bill that the carry forward would still be honored after the sunset. Is that your interpretation? Yes.
All right. Thank you for the Department of Revenue's clarification on that. Should have gone to you first. All right. Now I'll recognize Chairman Wiedeyer.
Make a motion to pass.
Motion is second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, what's the will of the committee? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries unanimously. Congratulations, Chairman Jaspers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Next, we're going to move on to House Bill 1167. Representative Townsend would like to come present the measure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to follow up from the previous day, answered quite a few questions in. This is an income tax credit, of course, to help innovative projects in public schools, charter schools, especially college and career academies. This is where it can be a game changer for innovative projects. I made some examples last time how Golden Isles and Albany have already taken advantage of it, and quite a few other people are and intend to in the future. And there are quite a few people lined up, manufacturers and people now that are willing to make a commitment to get to the next step and really utilizing these tax credits. So this is good for the students and really community overall and workforce development, Mr. Chair.
All right, just read the LC number. Let's just make sure for the record we're all.
Yes, sir. It's HB 1167 LC 500740S.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions for the author about the measure and what it does?
I believe Chairman Blackman, did you want to?
I'm going to run the meeting.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Recognize Chairman Carson. All right.
Okay, I apologize.
Chairman Carson Mays. Yeah, all right. Okay. Recognize Chairman Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Representative Townsend is alluding to the fact that he and I discussed a brief amendment, and we can do that at the proper time, Mr. Chairman. But since we're unsure as to what the expected amount would be over and above $5 million, that will start instead of at $20 million, start at $10 million for those subsequent years.
All right. So do I have entertain a motion on the overarching bill? Got a motion and a second. Now would be the proper time to for an amendment to that.
If I'm recognized for that, I'd move that on line 71, we replace the 2 with a 1, Mr. Chairman.
Line 71, we're reducing it from 20 million to 10 million. That's a committee substitute offered by Chairman Blackman. Do I hear a second? Second. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor of amending it from 20 million to 10 million, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries unanimously. Now we'll vote the bill as amended, reducing the max from 20 million to 10 million. So, is all in favor as amended, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, Representative Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good bill.
Thank you,
so
committee.
much. That's all that's coming before the Income Tax Subcommittee today, and so this subcommittee stands adjourned.
Okay, we're getting out the information for the ad valorem tax.
You don't want me to do it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're welcome to. Yeah, come on.
Okay, first, if we could have Chair Lady Camp, we're going to talk about House Bill 1185. Chair Lady, which one do you want to talk about first, 1185 or HR 1022?
Let's see, HR 1022, bear with me, because it is actually the constitutional amendment, or do you want to talk about the enabling legislation first?
I think I'd rather talk about the amendment first and then the enabling.
Okay. All right, awesome. All right, so thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. We're looking at House Resolution 1022, which is LC 442635. And this is a constitutional amendment that will provide for a base year. We're looking at the enabling legislation. It talks about 2024 being the base year, and giving counties and school boards and cities an opportunity to opt in or opt out, so to speak. And they will also have the ability to make the decision if they want to use consumer price index or some other level to raise or reduce the value of the property going forward. But this is a constitutional amendment. It will have to be voted upon by the good people of the state of Georgia to move forward.
Thank you, Chair Lady. And this would be a constitutional amendment on the ballot this fall, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay. Any members have any questions? We're talking about HR 1022. Yeah.
Well,
I had to step out for a moment. I appreciate the lady's proposition. What I want to make sure of in reading the measure is that we are not stepping on current floating exemptions that exist, that they could be replaced with this language. That I'm sorry, I have to get to the...
Mr. Chairman, I think you're referring to HB 1185, which I think right now we're still working on the resolution, so apologize.
I'll apologize. and move
We're
on.
on
That's
the,
why I just had to
understood,
step
and it's a
away.
valid question. We're on the amendment as
Yep.
of right now. Any questions for the author on HR 1022? Okay, what's the pleasure of the committee? We have a motion to pass and a sec. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Measure passes. Okay, let's go now to House Bill 1185. Chair Lady?
Thank you. And there is a substitute that was offered this morning. It's LC 442722, S is in Sam. I'd like to thank Legislative Council most certainly for being so expedient on this as we were working on a deadline. This, again, is the enabling legislation. This would allow counties, cities, and school boards to have the ability to basically freeze a floating homestead, if you will, the property assessments in their their areas that they cover, and they could use consumer price index as an inflation rate if they choose. Once again, they may, it's not, they must, they may use that if they want to use that as a way to increase the values of the properties at a rate that would be equivalent for everyone in the state. Additionally, my understanding is, Chairman Martin, that it does not impact any other standing homesteads. The homesteads exist in conjunction with this floating homestead, not in lieu of. So if a county decided to opt in at some point in time, this bill does not give them a measure to opt out. So this would be the law until something else changed.
Chairman Martin.
I draw the committee's attention. Line 93, 94, and 95 specifically says the homestead exemption granted in subsection B, which is this bill, shall be in lieu of and not in addition to any adjusted base year value homestead exemption provided by local acts. So, I mean, I read those 3 lines to say that the Fulton County government could enact this legislation and wipe out freezes from 2018 and reestablish base values at 2025, and that's problematic. Again, I don't want to hurt the lady's proposition for those that do not currently have floating homesteads, but if the county could do that on their own, it would be to their advantage and the detriment of the taxpayer to do. I mean, it specifically says shall be in lieu of and not in addition to, and it's specific also says 95 provided by local act. So I just want to make sure this doesn't step on local act.
Understood. We have another question. Chairman Stevens.
Lady, do you yield?
Yes, I
Isn't
yield.
it true that to do that, the county, school board, or city would have to place that on a ballot with a full knowledge that it would replace a lower exemption, so the public, isn't it true, is going to be protected in that regard?
Thank you very much. That is my understanding. We do have legislative counsel here if someone wants to weigh in on that from their office, but that is my understanding, Chairman Stevens.
To go with that, it's my experience most homestead exemptions pass. It's just if you put another homestead exemption out there, people vote for it. They don't look at, will this be better for me or worse for me. So I'm still. I still would like to see us do the bill. So if you have a floating homestead exemption, you couldn't enact this one over the top of it. I mean, I just think there's a place where we should be protective of the local act, not stepping in on it.
And I fully support you in that, Chairman Martin, most
I
certainly, because we
believe
don't want to
yeah.
take anything away from the homeowners, especially legislation that they've already voted upon.
So we're going to recognize legislative counsel real quick. What
It's
number,
already there.
Paul? Try that.
That's it. Thank you, Chairman. So, Chairman, members of the committee, lines 90 through 95 start by saying, except as otherwise provided in paragraph 2 of this
You can talk
subsection.
into the microphone.
I'm sorry? Oh, you can't hear me, okay.
You need my glasses.
Probably. No, I'm good. Except as otherwise provided in paragraph 2 of this subsection, the homestead exemption granted by subsection B shall be in addition to and not in lieu of any other homestead exemption applicable to ad valorem taxes. So, for instance, if the local government already had a homestead exemption in place for people age 60 or over, this would be in addition to that. But then paragraph 2 goes on to say, the homestead exemption granted in this code section shall be in lieu of and not in addition to any other base year exemption provided by a local act. The idea being that if the local government opts to take advantage of this base year exemption, the local base year goes away. It replaces that. But any other type of homestead exemption, it would be in addition to that. It wouldn't make it go away.
Mr. Chairman, I absolutely agree with that. That's what I want to do. That's what I object to. I object to this being able to replace. I object to a 2025 or after free base values. I'm sorry. That's exactly what I worry about. I do not want, Fulton County, for instance, has a base year set at Fulton County government level, I think, for 2006. I don't wish to reset those base years. The Fulton County Board of Education, all the cities in Fulton County, or most of the cities in Fulton County, all the ones in North Fulton, have base years that are 2016 through 2018. I don't want to allow a local government to enact a homestead here and do away with the previous one. And I understand Chairman Stevens, he's right that people could vote against it, but my experience is most people see a homestead exemption on the ballot, they think that's good for me, and they vote for it. I to some extent, want to help us protect the citizens from perhaps some confusing ballot questions. And I think that's an easy fix, that if one of these exists by local act, then you can't do this one.
Understood.
Until you repeal the local act exemption.
I'm going to recognize the chair. Chairman Blackman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Martin, if it's acceptable to you and to the author, Chair Lady Camp, if perhaps y'all could get together and work out some language. We have full committee in the morning, and rather than vote this out as is, we'll get the language, if y'all are in agreement, corrected, and we'll look at it in full committee in the morning if that works for you.
I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Definitely. We want it to be right. So thank you.
Okay, next up, House Bill 1069 is Chase. Yes, Representative Cannon.
Appreciate the chance to present this bill. I know it's a unique opportunity for me to be here, so thank you. LC 500692, very simple bill, department bill for the Georgia Forestry Commission. Basic purpose is to provide the State Forestry Commission with timber harvest tax records that are reported to the county on PT 283T form, otherwise known as a report of timber sale or harvest. Currently, the Forestry Commission does not have access to these records, and it would allow disclosure to the Forestry Commission to ensure that the harvesting provided to the tax assessor actually meets the harvesting provided to the landowner. That's pretty much it, and very simple bill. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Pretty straightforward bill. Members, any questions in regard to House Bill 1069 for the author? I got a move to pass. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
Okay. House Bill 808. Yeah. And which one was that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'd like to bring before you House Bill 808. It's a substitute, and the LC is 442690S. We all know that property tax is the levy on property that an owner is required to pay.
Chairman, can we hold on one second? I want to make sure we're on the right LC number.
I'm sorry.
Chairman?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Wait,
I think it's 442725S, and it's, per our discussions. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for that correction. Thank you. Cool.
So just to be clear, Chairman Chokas, we're working on LC 442725S, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, please.
That is correct. As I was saying, we're talking about property tax, and it is levied on real property, which is land and improvements, and a major source of revenue for local governments. TPP tax, on the other hand, is a specific type of property tax that applies to personal property, which is movable and tangible. Unlike real property, which is generally levied against real estate, TPP taxes are levied on the physical assets businesses purchase and pay sales tax on at the time of purchase. TPP taxes are levied on movable items that are used in the operation of a business. And it is also the number one tax most complained about by small businesses. These taxes require detailed record keeping, extensive reporting, and can be particularly burdensome to small businesses. Currently, Georgia, there is a threshold for businesses that are exempt, and that threshold is an antiquated number of $7,500. LC 442725S brings that threshold up from $7,500 to $20,000. And that's simply, that's the bill. And, I would like to yield for questions and the wisdom of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Newton.
I just want to say thank you for this bill. I think it's a much-needed relief to small businesses, and that nearly tripling of the $7,500, while it's not as much as some people would like, it's more than others. It's a lot of what we have to do around here. I appreciate you bringing the bill. I'd like to move due pass, Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time.
Okay, that is duly noted.
Thank you, Chairman.
Any other questions for the author? We did have one speaker, or excuse me, one person to speak to the bill. Clint Mueller, if you could come on up. Okay. Hit your button. Go ahead, sir. Try again. Try the one next to you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Clint Mueller with ACCG. There's a little bit of our attorneys, we haven't seen the new sub, so maybe it's been addressed, but the last version we saw, the utility personal property. So all the stuff that's centrally assessed at the Department of Revenue, which is railroad, cars, all the utilities, our attorneys read it as this bill is including that. I know that's not the author's intent. We just want to make sure that this is not including that type of personal property, because that's a lot. That would be about $13 billion worth of valuation on our digest if that were to be included. So we just want to go on record to saying we want to make sure this does not include the centrally assessed property. And then we also think that business inventory that's already covered under the Freeport 2 exemption should not be included, because there's already a mechanism to exempt that property. So again, the author's original intent was to look at the personal property of the business, and we just want to make sure it doesn't go beyond that intent. Thank you.
Thank you. The author wish to respond?
Yes, sir. To my knowledge, and we can check with Legislative Council, that is not part of this proposition. And then, as I said earlier, we're going from $7,500 to $20,000, and I imagine one railroad car or utility is worth a lot more than that. So we're just inching it up a little bit.
Any other questions for the author? I have a motion to pass from Chairman Newton. I have a second from Chairman Blackman. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's all we have, right? You're adjourned.
All right, that's all our bills. We are adjourned.